it's Jessie from the Scrappy Sisters, and thank you for joining me for a Sketch Sunday layout. And I am using this super cool triangle sketch created by Brenda Ragsdale, which I found on Pinterest, and I just thought it was a lot of fun. So I went ahead and popped all my triangles on and hand stitched a circle. I thought I had my camera recording at this stage, but apparently I just sat my camera on the tripod and never actually pressed go. So I apologize that you didn't actually get to see that process. To create the triangles, I actually just started cutting a random triangle. I started with that word patterned paper, which is kind of the odd man out on this layout, but I really wanted to include it because it had words like "it's cool to be kind," which is kind of the gist around this entire photo story. To create the circle hand stitching, I actually just got a gigantic mixing bowl out of my cupboard and pierced the holes all the way around using that. I didn't trace the holes first, I just pierced straight away up against that mixing bowl. So yeah, that's the general gist of how I got the sort of the basis of this page started. I'm using a bit of a mixture of collections here. I've got a little bit of Maggie Holmes Magic Forest. I've got a little bit of Heidi Swap. So the two papers, the kind of darker coral one and the large splodge spots, they're the Magical Forest from Maggie Holmes. And then all the ephemera so far that I've been using is the Heidi Swap ephemera from, what is this collection called? Storyline. And I'm just kind of following the sketch as closely as I can, actually. So I'm popping, popping my clusters in those two spots close to my two photos. Obviously, the way I've overlapped my photos is quite different to what the sketch suggests. In the way the sketch suggests it, I would say you're really just using one 6x10 photo that you've printed twice and you're layering them on top of each other. Perhaps you've got them in black and white and colour, or even just in colour or black and white themselves, but you're just sort of giving that shadow effect. I, on the other hand, have printed squares. They're about 3x3 squares, but they're both two completely different photos, so I wanted them to stand out in their own right. So I have popped those on the page exactly as they would look. The reason for the sizing and all that, it wasn't a creative choice. It's literally because I am scrapping 2014 at the moment, and I had a lot of trouble finding my 2014 photos. I apparently had zero photo storage organization in 2014, and so a lot of my photos I've actually had to screenshot off Instagram and then print them. And so obviously Instagram photos are square, so that's what I'm working with. Any sort of filter or effect on them is because that's how I uploaded them at the time in 2014. So I'm just kind of rolling with that. The cluster I'm working on right now, I really wanted to have that awesome star as kind of like the base of the cluster because I liked it. And I also wanted to include that little tag there that says things, because that's kind of what this is about, being given things, being gifted things. The piece of cake, I'm not 100% sure of the story behind that. All that I wrote on Instagram is that Katie came over for a visit and she bought cake. So I'm assuming she was just being a super awesome sister and bringing cake. The flowers were a gift from a work colleague. She was having a bit of trouble at work and I stayed back to help her out. And ipso facto, the very next day, she bought me flowers. So, you know, this is just a story about being kind to each other and supporting each other. So I've put my cluster up on top of the triangles. I've done my clusters and now I'm just working on my next cluster. I just realized something I was going to do and then completely forgot about. I was going to put stitching through the little skinny triangles, and I can see, looking at the sketch, that that's what Brenda had designed as well. That makes total sense to me. It's kind of the odd man out to have just one big circle of stitching. And I can also see, looking at her sketch, that she did 2 rounds of stitching. Interesting. If I could have checked my sketch a bit more closely, I might have done that as well. But, creative license. I also chose to stitch in white because I wanted it to be super subtle. I didn't want it to stand out. I was thinking about trying to match that dark corally colour, but in the end I just decided to go with white and, just roll with it. I stuck that love piece of vellum onto a white sheet of paper just so I could use it a bit more like a piece of ephemera. I popped it up on foam. I've done various layers, so some of the things are popped up on foam and some of the things are not. The tags that are underneath the Wonderful cluster has a gold outline. The star that's underneath the cluster in the bottom right has a copper outline. So, I just decided to embrace the mixed metals and go with both of them. So I am splattering on Heidi Swapped Colour Shine in gold, and I'm splattering on Liquitex in copper. I was being super lazy today and couldn't be bothered getting out a paintbrush, so my splatters are all quite large blobs, which I actually quite like in this case because it's a nice difference from the really small splats of gold. I could have had my layout be finished now, but decided, more is more. So I pulled out my Hey Hello sticker sheet and started popping in all the gold floral bits. Now, some of you might be looking at this and going, wow, you're using a massive mix of different collections. You've got some Heidi Swap, you've got some Magical Forest, you've got some Hey Hello pebbles or crepe paper. You're like, what is going on with you today? This is a kit. This is my Kitaholics kit that I got. So it wasn't my amazing creations. That's exactly what came together from the kit. And I'm just using all the different bits and bobs. It's amazing how things can fit with each other so well. Once I go ahead and pop down all of these super cute gold flowers, I then pull out a different line again, and it's the Lucky Us Pink Paisley Lucky Us enamel. And I'm going to use up a bunch of those as well on this layout. A few spots just to give it a little pop. I almost didn't put that green one or blue one on because it's quite the odd man out, but he was the last one left, so I just chucked him on anyway. Now for the title. I had a lot of trouble coming up with the title because, bit corny. But in the end, I put out this gigantic word love that I've had forever in my thickest stash. And I thought the white tied in really well with the white stitching, and then used the gold Kaiser Craft Gold Alpha to write special gifts. And here are the close-ups, and I hope you have really enjoyed this video, and perhaps you're going to participate in Sketch Sunday yourself. You can use the sketch that I use, or you can use your own. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a happy, scrappy week. Bye.